I can just start and you can just finish it if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. Wow. Red Dead Redemption 2 is an amazing experience. Even if it's lacking in the gaming department, let's say, gaming in regards to gamey games. With that said though, let me talk to you about what I love in this game. It is a beautifully realized game with such a painstakingly detailed world. I mean, just look at the graphics. Wow. Oh man. The environments are rich and they're luscious. And honestly, I've just had the most fun walking around various locations and just looking around. It's a living, breathing world, and Rockstar has always been the king at that. They still are to this day. Also, the camp hideout is an amazing location too. I loved hanging out with all of my camp buddies and interacting with them. It was always a treat, you know. But with this amount of detail comes immersion, right? And this is where the game excels, well, a little bit too much if you were to ask me. It's kind of a fault for me. Please don't kill me. Just hear me out, When I first heard that you had to bathe in Red Dead, I was like, oh, sick, dude, that's so sick. But after bathing for like the 8th time and needing to scrub every part of my dinkus, I was over it, honestly. Like, this game has so many things like that where at first they're super cool, but then after doing them over and over again, it just becomes monotonous. You know, this goes with skinning animals, doing chores at the camp, looting dead bodies, going through all the drawers, and honestly just riding from mission to mission. And I'm not saying the open world is bad. Frick no, dude, you're freaking kidding me. But going to a mission and starting the mission and then riding somewhere else just to do the mission, again, after like the 8th time, I was just over it. So with this, I want to add some context to all of this dialogue. I had an experience this past weekend where I had more time than usual to play video games. You know, it's a special time, you know, it doesn't happen that often. I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 3 lately, but, you know, I also did just recently get Red Dead Redemption. And when I had the opportunity to just sit down and just play a game, my mind was telling me Red Dead, but my heart was telling me Dark Souls. And got something in my throat. And with Red Dead, knowing that I would have to boot up the game, probably bathe my dude again, go to camp and talk to Dutch, and then ride somewhere else to talk to someone else, and then ride somewhere after that to start the mission. I don't know, it's just too much for my little gaming heart, if you know what I mean. And I ended up playing Dark Souls 3 and made some significant yet infuriating progress. If you soul boys know what I mean, okay. But in the end, I was playing a game, you know? A gamey game. At the end of the day, though, Red Dead 2 still has a lot to offer. It's still a beautiful game. You know, it's been a blast, you know? It's great. But, gosh, I just wish that I didn't have to sit through these menial and tedious things. I know that sounds, you know, baby or pretentious, I don't know, but I wish that I could skip some of the little things. You know, some menial things just take a little bit too much time for my taste. You know, kind of like real life, you know, you gotta do your laundry and go to the bathroom and, you know, I'm probably not gonna finish Red Dead 2 for another 1,000 years. So I'm gonna let Nick take over. He's actually finished the game. He'll probably be able to offer some more concrete insight, if you know what I'm saying.
When the first Red Dead Redemption in 2010 came out, it was one of my favorite open world releases of all time, until a certain game came out last year. Red Dead Redemption thrived on a truly emotional and impactful story, along with a fun and interactive world that was supplemented with fun side quests and great characters. Seth, Bonnie, the Strange Man, Nigel Dickens, Irish, all of these characters were unique and personable, and above all, interesting. There were also many moments in the game that had me floored from a visual and technical standpoint. Riding through the desert and seeing the amount of detail around your character was amazing, but that was 2010. It's 2018, boys and girls. Who isn't doing awesome looking games with all the graphics, intense narratives, and open worlds? I mean, what game isn't open world anymore? What I'm getting at is that Rockstar has a formula that remains superior to most competitors. But we have to ask ourselves a question. Is this still fun? When Red Dead Redemption 2 came out this year, you could say I was pretty hyped. Nostalgia flooded in as I saw the promotional poster for the first time. Needless to say, my expectations were incredibly high for this game. I expected to play the game in the same way I played the first when I was a mere child 8 whole years ago. 8 years. I mean, that makes me feel old. Anyway, wow! This game had me fully wrapped up and consumed for 40 hours. The story was fantastic. You had even more awesome and interesting characters in your game. The dialogue at points had some hilarious interactions. Collecting animal pelts and reading about your findings in your compendium was delightful. John Marston. John is in the game with you. I love John Marston. The soundtrack, it's awesome. So much emotion is captured because of how well done all of the music is. Overall, the game just has so much stuff. It's a fully realized adventure. I mean, I gotta say, Rockstar really pulled out all the stops for this one. But, remember that one part where I said the game kept me consumed for 40 hours? I was about halfway through the story at that point. The game takes a huge dive in its latter half. You start to notice a pattern in the story. Little things that were so unique and fantastic in the first half of the game become monotonous and rote. The combat becomes easy and mindless. Side content becomes just as its name implies and nothing more.
Just get out of my way.
All of this stuff in the game becomes optional and not worth your time, because you've been playing the game for 60 hours and you're only in Chapter 5. Bugs and glitches that seemed few and far between now seem to show up every time you play the game. Luckily, however, the game does flip a 360 in the last half of the 6th chapter. The narrative has an amazing lesson about the importance of humanity, the value of life itself, and why we as human beings need to lift each other up, and never forget those important precepts. At the end of the day, Red Dead Redemption 2 was one of the most frustrating kinds of games. It does so many things right, but it also has some really outdated aspects that take away from a truly impactful experience. Unfortunately, a lot of developers today gain the impression that more stuff makes a better game, but this is far from the truth. In this case, Red Dead Redemption 2 could have been an excessively good game with much less, instead of an above-average game with much more. My standards over the years have changed for open world and sandbox games. While Red Dead Redemption 2 is a fantastic looking game with an amazing story, it ends up being more of a Red Dead Redemption 1 on steroids, rather than a fresh and new experience that stands alone. This is a very good game though, and it would be criminal for me to not recommend that every fan of video games play this game. I just wish it had more game instead of more stuff. With that being said, we are so excited for Super Smash Bros. Woo! Yeah! Let's go!
Yes! Show me a move! Yeah!
On that day, when the sky fell away, our world came to an end. Stood a fading stars in the dark, glimmering shadows, silence grows.
Show me a move!
Between
Welcome on!
Game set!